guys, I'm going to go over the answers to that EOC practice test that you did. Some of these I'll go quicker because I know you guys did such a good job, and others I will slow down. I'm also breaking these down into groups of I think 5 or 6 problems, so you can go straight to the one you need to take a look at it. So here we go. So starting with number 1, I think everybody understood that a system is where they share a solution. So they're sharing the solution because that's where they intersect. Okay, so the answer to that one was C. 410 and 7.5. Okay, moving on. This one is the one that you guys had a little more difficulty with, and I totally understand that. And so here we go. The first thing that you guys need to do is you need to set this equal to 0. So we're going to clean this up. We're going to subtract 3a and add 3 because I want everything to this other side. So minus 3a and add 3. Now I specifically put them under the correct area so you could simplify it easiest. So 2a squared, this combines with this like terms, gives me a positive 5a. Negative 15 plus 3 is a negative 12, and that equals 0, but we won't worry about that, or equals y, either one. Okay, so this is the one where you're going to have to multiply these two to get a negative 24a squared, and then list those factors of 24a squared to get, let's see, negative 24a squared. So my factors of 24, 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and then 4 times 6. Now, those factors need to equal 5. So which one of these, if I add or subtract, can I get to 5? This right here. This is a positive 5. So this would have to, one of these would have to be negative. 8 minus 3 will give me a positive 5. And so we bring down that first. Then we're going to subtract 3a. And then plus 8a and bring down that negative 12. Okay, so these two will equal this. When added, they will equal this. All right, so, and we've done this before. You did this last year and you're doing it this year, so it shouldn't be too bad. Now we do what we called was grouping. We grouped these into the 2 sections, and we said, what's my GCF? What is my greatest common factor? What do they have in common? They both have an a in common, so I'm going to take out that a. If I take out an a here, I'm still left with 2a minus 3. Here, if I take out a 4, I'm left with, I'll take out that positive 4. I am left with, what is that? 2a minus 3. These two are the same, so I'm going to factor that out. 2a minus 3. And when I factor that out, I am left with a plus 4. And there's my 2 answers. So 2a minus 3 and a plus 4. So B and D. That's how you do that. And you're going to have some more EOC practice with that, and you did last week anyway. Okay, moving on. This one. So this one, when you're reading this, this is always your X, this is always your Y. I'm looking down here, and as I'm going down, I am increasing. So how do I know if it's linear, quadratic, or exponential? If this is going down by a constant amount, so here, if we would put a 2 here because that really messes us up, this would be going up by 15, and you have to look at that. So 15, 15, 15, 15. Or sometimes you could even just pick the 2 points. Sometimes you can say, I shouldn't say that. Let's just keep going. So this is linear. Quadratic means it's like a double pattern. Exponential means you're multiplying. So you're not multiplying. This is increased by adding 15 to each one. So adding 15, adding 1. Okay. The y-intercept, that means what happens if you were at 0? So sometimes you have to back it up to 0. So that's your y-intercept. You always have x as your 0, 0. So if I back this up, I'm going to subtract 15. So if I subtract 15 from 15, I'll end up at 0. So this one is 0, 0. Next. All right, so on this one, we need to, let's see, the travel to the distance schools, which travel to attend the field trip, some schools. If this outlier is added, so you have an outlier. So we have school 7. If it's added to this thing and they only go 15 miles, obviously that is an outlier. Which is a true statement about how that's going to change. Remember, outliers change your mean. Okay? The data is less spread? No. The data is more spread. Yes. Remember, spread means range. Both the median and mean changes. No, because when you have an outlier, it gets crossed off when you do the median. There is no change in the median and mean. False. There is no change in the spread. False. The median stays the same. The mean changes. That is true. The median changes. The mean changes. Okay, so an outlier affects the mean. The outlier affects the mean and the spread. Okay, moving on. Oh, you guys do not like these, but here we go. We just did this week. So you're going to solve for B. So what does that mean? B1. So you've got this equation here, and you almost have to pretend there's numbers here. So if I'm solving for this guy, that means I got to get rid of him and him. Since he's in parentheses, to get rid of a fraction, I'm going to multiply both sides by its reciprocal. So when I do that, I end up with 2a is equal to, he canceled out, and I have b1 plus b2. Now how am I going to get rid of b2? Hopefully you say you subtract it. Subtract it. So I have 2a minus b2 is equal to b1. And which one is that one? Oh, did I forget something? I forgot the height. Yowza. Let's back up. Okay, so we got rid of that. Oh, gosh darn it. I'm going to have to redo this one. I forgot the h. How did I forget the h? Bye-bye. So a is equal to 1/2 b1 plus b2 times my height. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to get rid of that fraction. So I am going to multiply both sides by 2/1. 2/1. So this becomes 2a is equal to b1 plus b2, still in parentheses, times my height. Now, I'm going to divide by my height, because it's multiplying, divide by my height. So 2a divided by h is equal to b1 plus b2. That makes more sense. Subtract b2 from both sides. So I'm left with 2a divided by h minus b2 is equal to b1. And there you have it. And that is answer B. And really, if you look here and look at your answer choices, you know you're going to, this is multiplying, so you're going to divide by h. You know you need to multiply by 2, and you know you need to subtract b2. So all of that is encompassed here. Order of operation, you could say it could be any of these. No, that's not multiplying. So it could be maybe one of these two. They're very similar. But realize your last step is it's the undoing of order of operations. So your last step would be adding or subtracting. So that's why it is this one and not this one. All right, moving on. Let's see how many I can get through here. Okay, the area and square units of a rectangle is represented by this. If the width is that, what is the length? Okay, so let's just make a picture. So the area and square units of a rectangle is represented by this. If the width is in units is 2x. What is the length in units? We know the area. So how do you find area of a rectangle? Area is equal to base times height, or length times width. So you can actually think about this in what we just did. I know my area, 6x cubed minus 2x squared plus 4x. I don't know my length, but I know my width is 2x. So I'm solving for him. This is multiplying. That means I need to divide this by 2x to each one of these. And so my length is going to be equal to, and then you're just going to simplify that. This divided by this is 3. Subtract these since we are dividing. This over here is just minus x because this cancels out and that leaves you 1x. And then here the x's are gone and you're left with a positive 2. And that is your final answer. Moving on. Probably just a couple more. So how do you solve this? When you're multiplying, you add your exponents. And you guys have a calculator. So what is 1/3 plus 1/4 in your calculator? You should get 7/12. That's it. What answer is that? A? Add them. Add them. Next, here is a graph. This one was weird, and I agree. And this is why it's weird, because this f of x will throw you every single time. So you almost need to think of it. Okay, so let's pick this point here. So if we had a table and our point is at, what is that, 0, 2? And now it's going to say y is equal to 2 times x minus 1. Okay, so our x value, I need to make my table. So I'm going to say, I'm going to plot these points in. So this was my x, this is my y, correct? So if I put a 0 here, I'd end up at -1. If I put a 1 here, 2 times 1 minus 1 gives me a 1. If I put a 2 here, 4, 2, 3. And so I'm going to see which one has that point. 0, -1. I'm taking my x value I just totally lied to you. Again. Okay, so this is saying that y is equal to x. That's where I went bad. So that means my value, if it's 2, my x value is 2 because they're equal to each other. I know it's so weird. I hate this question. You have no idea how much I dislike this question. So we're going to take our 2, multiply it by 2, and subtract 1. So that would be 4 minus 1. So 2 times that 2 minus 1, because my x is equal to my y, even though it doesn't look like it is, and it's actually 3. So it's B. Gosh, I hope you don't get that one. We're so used to looking at this one differently. Hopefully this will not be on your test. Okay, 2 more. A residual is defined as the difference between the actual value and dependent value. Which graph is best represented of a relationship that minimizes the residuals? So the residuals just are the dots and how close they are together. So hopefully you know that D is an excellent example of a trend line. We just learned that, right? We're good with that one. One more. So there's a couple ways you can do this. Hopefully you're taking each one of these, and you're substituting these x, y values into all of these. So you would say, I'm just going to do the first one so you understand how to do it. So you would say -2 times -5, because that's the x value, plus 5 times the y value, which is 0. Does that equal 10? Yes or no? And when you do that, the answer should be yes. Okay, so you're substituting them in. Then you try it in here because it could be, may be used more than once. So it could be true here too. This one's different because you see it looking differently. Our y, which is 0, is equal to 2 times 3, and my exponent is my x, which is -5. So in your calculators, you can easily say, is this a true statement? It's basically, is this true? So 2 parentheses, 3 parentheses, caret key -5, because it's my exponents. Does that equal 0? It does not. So that would be false. This one was true. So I wouldn't mark anything. So you are substituting these values here to see if they're true, if they are a solution. Next. Oh, I said I was going to stop there. So here's 1 through 10. I will stop.